So, quick question for you. How did you come up with this idea? Like, what gave you the confidence to go through, as you said, not a manufacturer story, but really a convention breaking story, and to partner with Pico Taro? What was the driver of that? We're really curious to hear about that.
So this idea just I didn't create by myself, because I don't want to. I didn't want to formulate idea. It's on its own. So I try to how can I say, fully utilize the highly specialized knowledge of the Wonderman Thompson, TikTok, and the talent agency as well. So that result is we could get that kind of result. And how can I say, think about come up with this idea. I personally think that there are three key points. Firstly, the going back in the force between the left brain and the right brain. So I exchange and creative and logic. How can I say, logically creativity. Then, so also I think about the daily consumer insight habit of Japanese. So, for example, the lifestyle, how can I say, how usually they check the social media on the train or social media or store. So I always checking how the consumer doing. And lastly, the experience as a media planner, because I was a media planner before. So while thinking logically about what should be done to convey the core value of a KitKat, well-balanced product, so allow you to, so anyway, to, I would say, consumer to enjoy the two flavor. So, I mean, how to express a fusion. So by using these three steps. So that's my how can I say, come up with this idea. By using the left brain and approach and the right brain approach, we came up with the Picotaro's PPAP. And because when I'm working in the morning, so I just, how can I say, act and right hand, left side, confusion. So, this is like a PPAP, Picotaro. Then, so we strongly felt that this is good fit for the product concept. So I consult with Hiromi-san, and also the TikTok and the talent agency. My idea is really, how can I say, good or not. So I was in the habit of always thinking about the KitKat brand. I noticed that people were watching video on their smartphone, the earphones on the train, while commuting to the work and school. So we wanted to reach the consumers both inside, outside of their homes, and we came up with TikTok as the best way to communicate. Picotaro's create content, which is characterized by sound and dance. So I think it's important to get a hint from everyday life, and not just from the time spent working in front of the computer and my desk. So before I was in charge of marketing. So I mean, I said I was a media manager. So I worked as a media planner and leading the PDCA cycle of the advertising for the various brands in Japan and around the world. So in the process, I paid attention to the TikTok, because TikTok is growing up so hugely. Therefore, which is emerging as a new media, and this was utilized in the selection of the communication channel for this project and subsequent scheme study. So that's my, how can I say, the process to hit upon this idea.
I like the way you talked about how important it is to get people in the empathy side of the story. You really think about the consumer in the first place. And ultimately, it leads to a creative that we would call as a misfit. Sean has already mentioned that. But we haven't discussed really what a misfit is, Sean. So maybe can you tell us a little bit more what a misfit is and why they are important? I think that's the most important part.
It really is, original, unique idea that brings value to the end audience. You could say that for sure. I think a lot of it's been said already, and we know from our research that working with let's call it a celebrity or a character like that is not always a ticket for success. But I think you nailed it with everything that you've described. But there are three things I'd like to say. The first thing is that the ad works in a way for that particular platform, for the brand, or the product, the new product, because it taps into something that's very important as a primary condition for any advertising to really be effective, which is memory encoding, or what we refer to as brand attention. So the creative experiences that the story is working with are just brilliant. So it taps into what you referred to, Sonia, as popular culture. And Shantara, you were talking about how you got to the ABC, or Hiromi to the ABC, as you referred to it. But the story just offers a really unique way of, an entertaining way of that people in Japan obviously loved, and with 90 million views, that's awesome. But Sonia, you alluded to empathy and fitting in. It works because it doesn't need to be a story about the ingredients necessarily, although they're there, right? It's the whole thing just is fluid. And I think that's why we see in the results from the Creative Spark you mentioned, Sonia, very strong, results around empathy and fitting and credibility. But also it's a very clear and compelling creative idea. So, difficult to bring when you've got a character like that, the challenge of the platform, the music and everything, and still make the product pop. I think the creative idea does that fantastically, because it sets the product up to have a stage to perform really well, and it delivers, in an entertaining way that if you are on the train in Tokyo, wherever you may be, looking at your phone, you're not going to turn away, because it's catchy and it brings all of those elements we've discussed already. So I think, it's worthy of a Misfits Hall of Fame. It needs to be framed in the Misfits Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
Thank you very much for your time today. It was really good to have you around. And yes, we'll look at the video once more, because we can't stop looking at it anyway.
So thank you very much for joining us today on this latest edition of our Creative Corner, powered by Creative Excellence at Ipsos. Best regards to Japan. We love this story and hope to hear more from you in the future. And thanks again for your time. Appreciate it. Take care. Bye.